Hey everyone, welcome to your weekend mini nerve. There has been a huge story circulating in the world of reality TV, and this is one of those stories that is so big that it jumps beyond the genre into headlines because what's playing out on screen and behind the scenes affects all of us. And truly, it folds into what we are seeing right now in the news, in courtrooms, and in the ways celebrities still get so many passes for violent behavior. And we will circle back to this at the end. Now, full disclosure, I come to this, as I would bet many of you troublemakers do, from a somewhat complicated place because I am a big fan of much of the genre. As you know, Housewives and much of the Bravoverse. And so also a note to those of you who responded to a question I put to you an episode or so ago. We are going to do a segment on Kathy Hilton because you guys asked for it. And I've got a physical copy of House of Hilton on the way. I read it a year or so ago on Kindle, but I need a physical copy so I can mark it up and take notes. And I was surprised to find that you cannot get a copy of House of Hilton for less than $45 used. But it goes on the expense pile. Nothing's too good for you guys. Okay. Anyway, on Tuesday, we saw one of the darkest finales of one of the darkest reality TV seasons and series, I'm going to say, ever. The Valley is a breakout reality show that spun off from Bravo's Vanderpump Rules. And if you haven't seen Vanderpump, I beg you to treat yourself. That first season especially is like lightning in a bottle. And I'll never forget, I went to drinks with one of my editors on American Predator. So this was a while ago. Very serious person, very smart, sophisticated, well-traveled. And over drinks, it somehow came up that I had gotten caught into a marathon of Vanderpump Rules. And I thought it was the kind of thing that I would forever be repulsed by. And I couldn't stop watching it. And this editor said to me, straight on, like, no irony, no wink and a nod, with all just genuine sincerity, Vanderpump Rules is a really good show. It is. Season 1, if you're laying around this weekend looking for something to just sort of go down like ice cream and just keep you going and going, Vanderpump Rules. So anyway, that show introduced to America a real person, but they become characters, named Jax Taylor. He is gorgeous, charismatic, funny, a bad boy whose behavior on that show back then was often explained away by the glamorous den mother, Lisa Vanderpump, who I otherwise love as, the stuff of boys will be boys. Well, on this season of The Valley, we have watched Jax, who those of us in this world have seen metamorphose into a fully dark character, just fully embracing the darkness. We've seen him stalk, abuse, threaten, and spy on his soon-to-be ex-wife, mother of their small child. And the cast of The Valley, most of them, walked up to saying on camera that he had physically abused her, but they stopped short. What was admitted was that he had thrown a chair, like one of those bench chairs that go at a kitchen counter, and or a coffee table in front of her. And again, they've got a toddler. So I'm going to set the table for you. And again, if you haven't seen the show, it doesn't matter. You'll get the taste of it from these clips. And again, it's a segment that's about more than the show or any one show itself. But we're going to begin with a clip of Jax. And this is one of those scenes that are meant to sort of right the ship so they can just continue filming with every character available and to keep driving story and high conflict. So he's showing her the chair he broke that he threw while fighting with his wife. And again, this scene is meant as, in my opinion, just my opinion, damage control. Take a look.
What happened the other night?
I don't think I've ever gotten that mad in my life.
Not justifying it all, but I didn't just fly off for no reason. There was reason why I did what I did.
You're justifying it.
No, I'm not justifying it, but I didn't just do it for nothing.
Okay, so that is hardly the first time that we have seen domestic violence, the assaulting of female housewives on any given season. This happened pretty early in the inception of Beverly Hills, which was, I believe, the second franchise, the first being New York City. And into one of the early seasons came a cast member named Taylor Armstrong. She had a small child named Kennedy, who I believe was around 4 when she joined the show, and her husband, Russell. Again, the husbands are a key part of these shows. It's Real Housewives. And the sort of tension of these shows is the difference between what these women present in terms of the happiness of their marriages and their home lives and the success that they enjoy reputationally and financially and all the things that they can afford and just how wonderful their lives are. And then the sort of chipping away at the veneer to whatever may be underneath that's not so great. So that's sort of always the narrative tension. And the fights are kind of almost like a Trojan horse for that stuff. But this became one of the most consequential and serious seasons of a Housewives franchise ever. During her season, there was a lot of chatter amongst the castmates when she was not on screen, but they were, talking about rumors that they were hearing and things that were making them think that Taylor was being beaten by her husband. And there was an intervention that took place in which one Camille Grammer, St. Camille for those who know, says to Taylor on camera, "None of us will say it, but now we're saying it. He beats you." And you can see Taylor blanch. You can see her blanch. And it was denied, and they kept filming, and they kept filming with Taylor, and they kept filming with Russell. And you could, once you saw it, you couldn't unsee it. This abusive dynamic, and she did seem in fear of him. So this went on, and then I forget at what point in the chronology because it was so many years ago, but Russell eventually killed himself. And Taylor eventually admitted that, yes, she had been in an abusive marriage. And of course, that extended to financial abuse. I believe he left her broke and had been lying about the books of his business and their house. So here she is. Again, this is years and years ago. So again, the likes of Bill Maher can take note, being asked by one Andy Cohen, who we will get back to, as to why she's got cameras following her everywhere. You would think she felt safe, but not even then. Here she is talking about why she kept her abuse a secret.
Why did you not report it or leave?
Well, I didn't report it because I didn't want him to go to jail. I loved him. And he would always tell me, "Go ahead, call the police. I'll go to jail. You and Kennedy will be on the street. I'll bankrupt you. I'll sue you until you have nothing." And also there's visitation. You know, Camille's been through it. Once you get divorced, you got to send your kids to this person. And so now I know that this person has a volatile temper and I need to send Kennedy to spend the night with him.
Kennedy is the little girl at the time. And every reason that Taylor enumerated is every reason that women still do not report their abusive boyfriends or husbands, especially when small children are involved. So we spoke to Jackie Pittman, who is a veteran of reality television, executive producing, creating, casting, and asked her, what does a responsible production team do when it's clear that a cast member, especially a female cast member, is in danger? And here's what she had to say about that. Your thoughts as a professional as to the ethics of any given, again, crew, production company, network, when it comes to their attention that a cast member may be in that kind of danger.
I have worked on a show in the past where a person's life was in danger off camera. And we took it, the executive producers took it among ourselves to report it to the authorities on their behalf. So And that was something that we felt it was important to do because she was in fear for her life. And so we did that. And then they took it from there. They sent, you call it a safety check to check on this person. So,
Jackie, oh, sorry, that's it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So in that particular instance, I don't know a show that condones violence like that. And if it's in their personal life, I can't imagine the executives behind the scenes not taking that kind of stuff very seriously. It's very scary.
But Bravo, it seems, took that not as a note to be very wary when casting new housewives and their husbands, and maybe do proper background checks, and maybe perhaps even intervene or threaten a lot of these people, the men, the abusive men, with what they most fear in order to ensure the safety of one of their cast members. Instead, it seems they take, we're just a fly on the wall here, and we can't possibly intervene because it would alter the course of any given narrative or story. That's the most important thing. The ratings, the eyeballs, those are the most important things. Women's safety, children's safety, fungible at best, I suppose. So years later, on The Real Housewives of Orange County, along comes a new cast member into a pretty well-established social group, a cast that has gelled. And her name is Shannon Storms Bedore. And she's a breakout star. I mean, she's living in a multi-million-dollar mansion that I believe she and her husband, who ran a successful contracting company, had built from the ground up. She was one of these women with so much money and so many weird, paranoid concerns that she was sort of humble bragging that they had installed air purifiers in nearly every wall of the home. She was only about breathing pure air, and that's a tell, whatever. But pretty soon after joining, and pretty soon after her husband David, enters stage right, the frame. I mean, the scene of him passive aggressively munching on chips while she tells him she's been slaving over his dinner all day, and she's trying to maintain her diet and her calorie restriction. And could David have a little concern? And he looks at her dead-eyed and continues to, if that wasn't the metaphor and the red flag right there. So, before too long, the other cast members, and this is part of what these housewives do, they do their own due diligence. If production will not let them in on whatever due diligence they've done, these women, these cast members do it. And they look up property records, they look up arrest records, they look into criminal backgrounds, they vet these guys to within an inch of their lives. And what comes up but a widely circulated rumor that turns into a report that David, in fact, had hit Shannon, and the police had been called to their home at least once in 2003. Now, Shannon denied this, and she denied it with such fury and outrage that, again, you're like, it has to be, there's some truth here. There has to be. Just my opinion. But if that weren't true, I think the reaction would be, you guys are really working hard to dig up some dirt where none exists. That's never happened. Dig away, dig deep into the crates. You're never going to find an arrest record. In that 2003 incident, David was arrested and charged with assault and, quote, battery against a cohabitant. He pled guilty and got 3 years probation. And again, they filmed with this guy who now, has, since Shannon and David divorced, he left her in a very brutal, humiliating way, which is another kind of abuse, humiliating her on camera. He has since remarried, and his wife has filed, I believe, at least one restraining order against him. So you have to wonder, really, what kind of sickness is infested in the offices over at Bravo, owned by NBC Universal, when they're casting these people, these women. All you got to do is run a criminal check. Has this guy been arrested for DV? Has he hit his wife before? Do his children live in fear of him? Don't cast that person. Don't do it. And if it comes to light somehow during the show, then you got to intervene. I mean, I'm going to guess that Bravo has these women who are so desperate to be famous, and it's the only avenue they've got, that they're signing their lives away, that they're indemnifying Bravo and the production companies that are responsible for these shows, and network brass and the likes of Andy Cohen. I'm sure they're all indemnified and they can't be sued, even if, God forbid, somebody is injured so gravely that they wind up in a coma or a vegetable or worse. And allegedly, Bravo has a no-sue clause, which holds that, I guess when you sign to do one of these shows, that as a cast member, you cannot sue another cast member. And I think you're also signing away your rights to sue Bravo. But Brandi Glanville, who used to be on Beverly Hills, has sued Bravo. I believe her case has stalled and her lawyers have dropped her because she is very problematic. But the thing she was alleging, they're in the same wheelhouse as another former Bravo. She was a New York cast member named Leah McSweeney, who was alleging unsafe work practices, toxic work environments. And, this really brings up, now before we go back to what's going on the Valley and the finale that just aired this week and what we're going to see next week as the reunion begins, Denise Richards, the former, B-movie bombshell who was married to Charlie Sheen, divorced him. She's a former Beverly Hills housewife, fairly recent history. She is in the news, and she is alleging physical abuse against her soon-to-be ex-husband, who is one cancer scammer named Aaron Pfeiffers. And she and Aaron filmed together. And I'm going to show you a scene that aired. And I watched this episode in real time, meaning as it was airing, not like a year later. And I could not believe what I was seeing. I couldn't believe it. Just when you think like Bravo or NBC Universal or even a producer is going to hit a level and say, guys, we can't do this shit anymore. We've got this guy on camera threatening this woman, and it's clearly not the first time he's threatened her, which means he's probably, let's be adults here and just say it, beating that living crap out of her. Watch this clip.
We're on the camera.
Baby,
we don't need to do this.
Word.
Don't tell me I want to say it. I'm going to crush your hand and solve it.
So when you watch that clip, he's gritting his teeth and trying to talk like a ventriloquist dummy so that the camera can't pick up what he's saying. But in editing, they made a point to put it in subtitles, in closed captioning, so that we all could see him say, in effect, shut up. And then they're holding hands and he says, I'm going to crush your hand. I'm going to crush your hand. So we just saw this week an image of Denise Richards with an incredibly swollen, enormous, bruised black eye. Denise says Aaron did that to her. Aaron says she walked into something. If you're going to tell me, you know what? The cast members, by the way, of Beverly Hills said that they did not see what happened or hear what happened between Aaron and Denise until after they watched that episode back, that they were concerned. But really, that's about as far as it went. And honestly, it's not on the cast members to intervene. That's not their skill set. You need expertise in that field if you're going to intervene in a situation that combustible and explosive, where a woman's life is in danger and the lives of her children might be in danger. Does Bravo have anyone on their payroll who is qualified to deal with this shit? If they do, it's news to me, because all we see is stuff like we're seeing now on the Valley, where we have escalated to what I consider a crisis point. Watching Jax Taylor surveil his wife through their own home safety cameras. You see her being shot by crew. So the crew is filming the crew, filming her, putting Post-its up on these camera lenses so her estranged husband cannot spy on her and rage text her over who she may be dating or what she's doing in the house with their son. Throwing furniture. We just saw that. Bravo finally caved to viewer petitions that were demanding that they fire him. And his firing, well, they called it a parting ways. I believe they allowed Jax to say he was parting ways. Again, an off-ramp he doesn't deserve. They should have said, you know what? We're firing this guy. He's bad news. He's dangerous. We've seen him throw stuff and get violent, and he's got a little kid and a wife who filed a restraining order against him and got it. She's got full custody of that kid right now. But no, they have to keep the door open for the likes of Jax Taylor because he's ratings gold. So, you know, up until this week, they were like on the fence. Like, can we keep him? Can we keep him? Can we keep him? And if you want to say that Bravo doesn't really know what goes on once cameras go down and these people go behind closed doors, well, take it this clip of Jax Taylor trying to explain away his terrible behavior and treatment of women over the years.
A lot of damage has been done and working on myself. At least I'm trying. I'm trying to go get therapy. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to ask people.
You don't have any remorse or say, I'm only going to tell the truth.
Absolutely. You know what? I admit everything I do. I'm far, obviously perfect, and I need a lot of help. I've definitely become a better person, and one of the things that I wanted to do is try to better myself. Seriously, like, look at myself and I'm tired of myself. I'm trying to be a better person. I'm still a work in progress.
This is our 7th reunion. I have heard you say you're a work in progress.
So Andy Cohen says to him, it's our 7th reunion. I've heard you say this before. We've all heard him say it before. And again, there's no consequence. As long as he's bringing eyeballs and generating headlines, it's all cool. It's great. So here's Jax on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen a month ago. And again, this has been a dominant, it's been one of the A storylines, if not the A storyline on the Valley. Jax and Britney's divorce and his violence in the home. Okay, with a small child in that home. Here's Andy with Jax. Let's take a look.
We got a lot of tweets from people that are just even mad that you're here and that you shouldn't be given this platform tonight. What do you have to say to them?
First of all, I want to apologize to everybody who's watching this right now. It's just the stuff that was shown is pretty triggering to a lot of people. And, you know, I'm watching it back. I watched the episodes now. And
which is a first.
Which is a first.
And truly.
You watch it back and it's just like, I'm utterly embarrassed of my actions. And like I said, nobody should ever have to deal with the way I acted. Nobody should ever have to deal with, you know, verbal abuse from anybody. So that being said,
At minimum.
Yeah, I'm really sorry that people, you know, had to see all that.
Me. Notice his wife's name didn't come out of his mouth once, or his child's name. A lot of generalities in there. Do you know what this reminds me of?
I mean, I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now.
Me. The story of Jax Taylor is going to end one way, I promise you that. Now, not for nothing, a constant friend of on Beverly Hills is the morally corrupt Faye Resnick. And thank you again, one Camille Grammer, for your contribution to the lexicon and calling a spade a spade. Now, Faye Resnick is one of Kyle Richards' best friends. We're going to be, again, dealing with that cohort on our Hilton episode. But Faye was once the close friend of the late Nicole Brown Simpson. And I have to say, it seems like Nicole's specter hangs over so much of the Bravo universe, of the Housewives universe, and nothing was learned from her story, nothing. And I don't know what it's going to take for these power brokers to step in over at NBC Universal and Bravo and Casa Andy and his little clubhouse and say enough. Is it going to take a dead housewife or a dead member of the Valley? Because it seems that that's where we're headed. He's allowed Jax Taylor to appear on next week's reunion, 3-part reunion of the Valley. We're going to see him again, you know, just regurgitating all kinds of excuses and minimizing his behavior and just trying to, you know, paddle furiously under the water to keep his job because nothing matters unless we're on television. I mean, wake up, Andy Cohen. Find your morals wherever you left them decades ago and do something to protect these women you claim to have so much affection and respect for. The money you're making off their backs and their injuries and their broken bones. Otherwise, all your money is blood money, all of it. Now, we have a more serious poll for you guys. If you think that Bravo should have cut Jax loose the minute they knew what was going on with Brittany in that house, go over to our Nerve IG page and make your voices heard. And we'll revisit this next week when the Valley begins pretending that, you know, just a little drama going on. Okay, that does it for this edition of Your Mini Nerve. We will see you back here on Tuesday for a full episode of The Nerve, where you will never guess what we're about to say next.